Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have all the time in the world? They build businesses, they learn new skills, they spend time with family, they exercise, they read, and somehow, they're not stressed or rushing around like everyone else. Meanwhile, you're working the same 40 hours a week, and you can barely keep up with laundry. Here's what nobody tells you about millionaires in time. They don't have more hours than you. They just think about time in a fundamentally different way, a way that most people never learn. Here at Simple Money, we've studied how wealthy people actually structure their days and their decisions, and what we've discovered is going to completely change how you think about your own time. Because the difference between people who build wealth and people who stay stuck isn't about working harder. It's not about being more productive. It's not even about time management. It's about understanding what time actually is and how to use it like the most valuable asset you'll ever own. By the end of this video, you're going to see your entire day differently, and that shift in perspective might be worth more than any financial advice you've ever heard. Here's what's really happening. Most people treat time like it's infinite, like there's always more coming, like they can just work harder tomorrow to make up for today. But wealthy people? They treat time like money. Actually, scratch that. They treat time as more valuable than money. Because here's the thing, you can always make more money. You can get a raise, you can start a side business, you can invest and let your money grow, but you can't make more time. Once it's gone forever, and you have no idea how much you have left. Think about it this way. Imagine someone offered you $1 million, but to get it, you had to give up the next 10 years of your life. Just gone. You'd wake up 10 years older with no memory of what happened. Would you take that deal? Most people would say absolutely not. 10 years of life is priceless. You can't put a dollar value on that much time. But here's what's wild. Most people make that exact trade every single day. They just do it slowly. So slowly they don't even notice. They spend 40 hours a week at a job they hate for 40 years. That's over 80,000 hours. That's 9 years of waking time. Gone. Traded for a paycheck. They spend 2 hours a day scrolling social media. That's 30 days a year. Over your lifetime, that's over 3 years of your life looking at other people's highlight reels. They say yes to obligations they don't care about. They waste time on activities that don't matter. They drift through their days without intention. And then one day, they're 60 years old, wondering where all the time went. Wondering why they didn't build that business. Why they didn't spend more time with their kids. Why they didn't learn that skill or take that trip. The time was there. They just spent it on the wrong things. And you can't get a refund on time. Millionaires understand this at a level most people never reach, and it changes everything about how they live. Let me explain the first way millionaires think about time differently. I call this the leverage principle. Here's what it is. Most people trade time for money directly. 1 hour of work equals 1 hour of pay. If you want more money, you work more hours. Millionaires do something completely different. They figure out how to get paid multiple times for the same hour of work. They build systems. They create assets. They invest in things that work while they sleep. They leverage other people's time. They leverage technology. They leverage money itself. Let me make this concrete. Imagine you're really good at graphic design. Most people would become a freelance graphic designer. They'd charge $50 an hour. If they work 40 hours, they make $2,000. If they want to make more, they work more hours. There's a direct trade. Time for money. But here's what someone thinking about leverage would do. They'd create a course teaching graphic design. It takes them 100 hours to create. That's a lot of upfront work. But once it's done, they can sell it infinitely. They make money while they sleep, while they're on vacation, while they're spending time with family. That same 100 hours of work can now generate income for years, maybe decades. They've leveraged their time. Or they might start a graphic design agency. They hire other designers. Now when those designers work, the owner makes money. They've leveraged other people's time. Or they might invest their graphic design income. Now their money is making money through compound interest. They've leveraged capital. This is why millionaires are obsessed with building assets instead of just earning income. Assets pay you repeatedly. Income pays you once. Here's a specific example. You have $5,000. You can spend 40 hours doing overtime at work to earn it. Or you can spend 40 hours building something that generates $5,000 a year forever. Most people choose the first option. It's immediate, it's certain, it's what everyone does. Millionaires choose the second option. Even though it's harder up front, even though it's uncertain, because they understand that 40 hours invested in leverage is worth infinitely more than 40 hours traded for immediate cash. This is why wealthy people will spend months or years building a business that might fail. Why they'll invest time learning about investing. Why they'll write a book or create a product or build a system. They're not trading time for money. They're investing time to create leverage. And leverage is how you escape the time for money trap. Most people will work 40 years and have nothing to show for it except whatever they saved. Millionaires will work 40 years and have assets that continue generating wealth for the rest of their lives. And their kids' lives. And their grandkids' lives. Same amount of time. Completely different outcome. All because of leverage. The second way millionaires think about time is what I call the opportunity cost mindset. This is probably the most important concept in this entire video. So pay close attention. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to everything else you could have done with that time. That's opportunity cost, and most people never think about it. You say yes to watching TV for 2 hours. That's 2 hours you didn't spend learning a skill, or working on a side business, or building relationships, or exercising. The TV isn't just costing you 2 hours. It's costing you everything those 2 hours could have become. Millionaires are ruthless about opportunity cost. Before they say yes to anything, they ask, what am I giving up by doing this? Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Someone invites you to a party. It's going to be fine. Not great, just fine. It'll take 3 hours by the time you get ready. Drive there, stay a bit, and drive home. Most people think, well, I don't have anything else to do, so why not? That's time abundance thinking. Like time is free. Millionaires think differently. They think, those 3 hours could go toward my side project, or I could have a deep conversation with my partner, or I could read a book that might change my perspective, or I could plan my next business move. They're not antisocial. They're just aware that every hour has a cost, and that party just became very expensive. Here's another example. You're scrolling Instagram. Someone asks, what are you doing? You say, nothing, just relaxing. But you're not doing nothing. You're choosing Instagram over everything else you could be doing. That's an active choice, and it has a cost. Maybe that hour could have been spent learning about investing. If you learn about investing and start early, that knowledge could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. You just traded hundreds of thousands of dollars for 15 minutes of mildly entertaining content you'll forget in an hour. That's the real cost, and most people never see it because they're not thinking in terms of opportunity cost. Now here's where this gets really powerful. Millionaires also apply opportunity cost to money decisions. Should you buy that $3,000 couch? Most people think, can I afford $3,000? Millionaires think, what else could I do with $3,000? If you invest $3,000 at age 25 and it grows at 8% per year, that's over $30,000 by age 65. You're not choosing between $3,000 and a couch. You're choosing between $30,000 and a couch. Suddenly, that couch needs to be really, really good to justify that trade. This is why millionaires seem cheap sometimes. They're not cheap. They just see the full cost of things. They see the opportunity cost. And most purchases aren't worth what you're giving up. Understanding opportunity cost changes everything. It makes you realize that your time isn't neutral. Every minute spent on one thing is a minute not spent on something else. And when you really internalize that, you start making very different choices. The third way millionaires think about time is through what I call future self-optimization. Most people live for today. They make decisions based on how they feel right now. They optimize for immediate comfort or pleasure. Millionaires live for their future self. They make decisions based on who they want to be in 5 or 10 or 20 years. Here's what this looks like. It's Friday night. You're tired from work. You have two options. You can watch Netflix and relax, or you can spend 2 hours working on your side business. Most people choose Netflix. Because right now, in this moment, that feels better. And your brain is very good at justifying it. You deserve to relax. You worked hard this week. You'll work on the business tomorrow. But millionaires think differently. They imagine their future self. the version of them that exists 5 years from now. And they ask, what would future me want me to do right now? Future you doesn't care about tonight's Netflix show. Future you cares about whether you built something meaningful, whether you developed skills, whether you made progress. So they choose the work, not because they're more disciplined, but because they're living for a different version of themselves. Let me give you a really specific example of this. You're 25 years old. You can invest $500 a month, but it means cutting back on going out and buying stuff you want. Most people don't invest, because right now, going out feels good. Buying stuff feels good. Investing feels like sacrifice. But if you're thinking about your future self, the math is obvious. That $500 a month, invested for 40 years at 8% returns, becomes over $1.7 million. You're not choosing between $500 and investing. You're choosing between 40 years of modest spending and retiring with nearly $2 million. Which version of your future self do you want to create? The one who went to a few more happy hours? Or the one who's financially free? When you frame it that way, the decision becomes clear. But most people never frame it that way. They just think about today. Right now. This moment. Millionaires have trained themselves to feel future consequences now. To emotionally connect with their future self. To make that future person as real as their current self. And here's what's really interesting. Research shows that people who can vividly imagine their future selves make better financial decisions. They save more. They invest more. They make choices that benefit their long-term well-being. It's not about being disciplined. It's about expanding your sense of self to include who you're going to become, and then making choices that version of you would thank you for. Every time you're faced with a decision about how to spend your time or money, ask yourself, what would my future self want me to do? That one question will transform your life. The fourth difference is what I call the subtraction strategy. Most people think about time management as addition. How can I do more? How can I fit more in? How can I be more productive? Millionaires think about time management as subtraction. What can I stop doing? What can I eliminate? What can I remove from my life? This might sound simple, but it's actually revolutionary. See, your time is already full. You can't add more hours to the day. So if you want to do something new, something meaningful, you have to remove something else first. But most people never remove anything. They just keep adding. More commitments, more obligations, more busy work, until they're drowning in 1,000 tiny things that don't matter. Millionaires are ruthless about eliminating everything that doesn't serve their goals. They say no constantly. They cut out activities that don't provide value. They remove people from their lives who drain energy. Let me show you what this looks like practically. You probably spend time on things you don't even enjoy. Obligations you said yes to months ago. Meetings that accomplish nothing. Social media scrolling that makes you feel worse. Watching shows you're not even interested in just because you started them. Each of these things is stealing your time. And you're allowing it because you've never consciously decided to remove them. Millionaires audit their time regularly. They look at everything they're doing and ask, does this move me toward my goals? Does this energize me? Does this matter? If the answer is no, they eliminate it. No guilt, no explanation, just removal. Here's a specific example. Let's say you're part of a weekly friend group that meets for drinks. It's fine. Not terrible, but not great. You go because you've always gone. Because you don't want to seem rude. Because it's easier to go than to explain why you're not going. But it's 3 hours every week. That's over 150 hours a year. That's almost 4 full weeks of waking time. What could you do with an extra month every year? You could learn a new skill, build a business, deepen your most important relationships, work on your health, actually, rest and recharge. But instead, you're at a bar with people you're not that close to, having conversations you won't remember, spending money you could invest, because you've never consciously decided to subtract that activity from your life. Millionaires make that decision. They protect their time like it's the most valuable thing they own, because it is. And here's what makes this even more powerful. When you subtract the things that don't matter, you create space for what does matter. You're not just removing negatives, you're making room for positives. You can't add meditation to your morning if your morning is already packed, but you can remove scrolling social media for 20 minutes and replace it with meditation. You can't add time for a side business if your evenings are full of TV. But you can subtract the TV and replace it with building something. Subtraction creates space. Space creates opportunity. Opportunity creates wealth. Most people have full calendars and empty results. Millionaires have empty calendars and full results, because they've eliminated everything that doesn't matter to focus completely on what does. The fifth and final way millionaires think about time is what I call the compounding mindset. You've probably heard about compound interest with money. You invest a little bit regularly, and over time, it grows exponentially. The early money you invest is worth way more than the late money because it has more time to compound. Millionaires understand that everything compounds, not just money. Skills compound, relationships compound, health compounds, knowledge compounds, and most importantly, time compounds. What you do today doesn't just affect today, it affects tomorrow, and next week, and next year, and the rest of your life. Let me explain what this means practically. If you spend 30 minutes today learning about a new skill, that's nice. But if you spend 30 minutes every day for a year, you've invested over 180 hours. That's enough to become genuinely competent at almost anything. But it doesn't stop there. Because now you have that skill forever. You can use it to make money, to create opportunities, to solve problems. That skill creates value for the next 40 years of your life. You invested 180 hours once, but you get value from it for decades. That's compounding. Here's another example. You decide to work out for 30 minutes a day. In week 1, you don't see much difference. In month 1, you feel slightly better. In year 1, you've transformed your body and your health. But it compounds further. Because you have more energy now, you think more clearly, you feel more confident. So you perform better at work. You get promoted. You earn more money. You invest that money. And it grows. That 30 minutes a day didn't just make you healthier. It created a cascade of positive effects that compound over your entire life. This is why millionaires are obsessed with daily habits, not because one day matters that much, but because one day repeated becomes a year repeated becomes a decade, and a decade of compounding creates transformation. Most people think in terms of events. I'll start a business. I'll learn to invest. I'll get in shape. These are one-time events in their mind. Millionaires think in terms of systems. I'll spend 1 hour every day building a business. I'll read about investing for 20 minutes every morning. I'll work out every day. The system creates compounding. The event creates nothing. Here's what makes this really powerful. Small changes compound into massive results. But only if you give them time. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel significant, but that's 18 books a year. Over 10 years, that's 180 books. You'll know more than 99% of people in almost any field if you read 180 books about it. Investing $200 a month doesn't feel like much, but over 30 years at 8% returns, that's almost $300,000. That's life-changing wealth from what feels like pocket change. Learning for 30 minutes a day doesn't feel productive. But over 5 years, that's over 900 hours. That's more than enough time to master a skill that could double your income. The magic isn't in the individual day. The magic is in the compounding over time. And most people quit before they see it because they're looking for immediate results. Millionaires understand that time is the multiplier. The more time you give to good habits, the more they compound. So they start early, they stay consistent, and they let time do the heavy lifting. Now here's what nobody wants to admit, and this is going to be uncomfortable. Most people waste their time because they're scared of what happens if they don't. Think about it. If you're busy all the time, you have an excuse for why you're not building wealth, why you're not starting that business, why you're not learning that skill. I don't have time is the perfect excuse. It protects your ego. It lets you off the hook. But if you eliminate all the wasted time, if you create space in your life, suddenly you're faced with a terrifying reality. You have time. You just have to use it. And now failure is a possibility. Now you might try and not succeed. Now you have to face whether you're actually capable of building what you say you want to build. So instead, most people stay busy. They fill their time with things that don't matter. They create the appearance of having no time, because that's safer than having time and having to confront whether they'll use it well. Millionaires have faced that fear. They've created space. They've used it. And yes, sometimes they've failed. But they've learned that using time badly is still better than wasting it on nothing. Because at least when you use time badly, you learn something, you make progress, you move forward. When you waste time, you just get older with nothing to show for it. The choice isn't between perfect use of time and wasted time, it's between intentional use of time and unconscious drifting, and only one of those builds wealth. Let me tell you about Brandon. Brandon is 35 years old. He works a normal job, makes decent money. But he's been saying he wants to start a business for 10 years now. He's got ideas, he's got skills, he just doesn't have time. Here's what Brandon's typical day looks like. He wakes up, scrolls his phone for 20 minutes before getting out of bed. He drives to work, listening to the same music he's heard 1,000 times. He works his 8 hours, doing a job he's okay at but doesn't love. After work, he goes home. He's tired. He deserves to relax. So he watches YouTube for an hour. Then he makes dinner, scrolls Instagram while eating, watches a couple episodes of a show. By the time he looks up, it's 10:30. Too late to start anything meaningful. On weekends, he sleeps in. He runs errands. He meets friends for drinks. He watches sports. He tells himself he'll work on his business next weekend. When things calm down, when he has more energy, 10 years go by like this. Brandon is now 45. He's still at the same job, making a bit more money but not much. He still hasn't started that business. He's still saying he doesn't have time. But here's what Brandon doesn't see. He has the same 24 hours as everyone else. He's just spending them on things that don't compound. The 20 minutes of scrolling every morning is over 120 hours a year. The TV every night is 365 hours a year. The mindless weekend activities are hundreds more hours. Brandon has the time. He's just trading it for nothing. For temporary comfort. For avoiding the discomfort of actually building something. And now he's 45. And time is running out. The compound interest he could have built, the skills he could have developed, the business he could have grown, all of it is gone. Not because he didn't have time, but because he didn't see time as the asset it is. Now let me tell you about Monica. Monica is also 35. She also works a normal job. She also wants to start a business. But Monica thinks about time differently. Monica wakes up at 6. Not because she's a morning person, but because she's decided her future self matters more than her current comfort. She doesn't touch her phone. She spends 45 minutes working on her side business before she goes to her regular job. During her commute, she listens to podcasts about business and marketing. She's learning, compounding knowledge every single day. At lunch, instead of scrolling social media, she reads for 20 minutes. She's already read 20 books this year. Her perspective has completely shifted. After work, she's tired, just like Brandon, but she's made a deal with her future self. 2 more hours on the business. Every day, no exceptions, even when she doesn't feel like it. By 8 p.m., she's done. The rest of the evening is hers. She makes dinner, she spends time with her partner, she actually rests instead of mindlessly consuming content. On weekends, she protects Saturday morning for deep work on her business. But Saturday afternoon and Sunday are free. For friends, for life, for fun. Monica isn't superhuman. She's not more disciplined than Brandon. She just sees time as an investment instead of something to kill. After 3 years, Monica's side business is making $2,000 a month. After 5 years, it's making $6,000 a month. After 7 years, she quits her job. Her business now makes more than her salary ever did. Monica is 42. She owns her time. She's built an asset that pays her whether she works or not. She has freedom that Brandon will never have unless he changes how he thinks about time. Same starting point, same 24 hours a day, completely different outcome. Not because Monica had more time, but because she understood what time actually is. Here's what most people don't realize. Brandon and Monica aren't different types of people. Monica isn't special. She doesn't have more willpower. She isn't more talented. The only difference is what they believed about time. Brandon believed time was something to fill, to pass, to get through. So he filled it with comfortable distractions, with easy activities, with things that felt good in the moment. Monica believed time was the most valuable asset she'd ever own. Scarce, irreplaceable, precious. So she invested it, intentionally, strategically, in things that would compound. And here's the reframe that changes everything. Time isn't neutral. It's not just passing by while you live your life. Every hour you spend is an investment. The question is, what are you investing it in? Are you investing in assets that will pay you back for years? Or are you spending it on things that give you temporary comfort but no lasting value? Are you building leverage? Or are you stuck in the time for money trap? Are you optimizing for your future self? Or are you optimizing for how you feel right this second? Are you adding more busy work to your life? Or are you subtracting everything that doesn't matter? Are you creating systems that compound? Or are you chasing one-time events that lead nowhere? These aren't questions about productivity. They're questions about what you value, about who you want to become, about what kind of life you want to build. And the beautiful thing is, you can change how you think about time right now. Today. This moment. You don't need permission. You don't need more hours in the day. You just need to start seeing time for what it really is. The most valuable, most limited, most powerful asset you'll ever have. Let's recap what we've covered. The leverage principle. Stop trading time for money. Start building assets that pay you repeatedly. The opportunity cost mindset. Every yes to something is a no to everything else. Choose carefully. Future self-optimization. Make decisions based on who you want to become, not just how you feel right now. The subtraction strategy. You can't add meaningful things until you remove meaningless things. The compounding mindset. Small actions repeated over time create massive results. Start early. Stay consistent. These aren't complicated strategies. They're just different ways of seeing the same 24 hours everyone gets. Millionaires don't have more time than you. They don't have special powers. They just understand that time is an asset, and assets should be invested, not spent. The question isn't whether you have enough time. You do. Everyone does. The question is whether you're going to keep trading your time for temporary comfort, or whether you're going to start investing it in your future. Every single day, you're making that choice. Most people just don't realize they're choosing. But now you know. You can see the game. You understand how time actually works. What you do with that knowledge is up to you. So here's my question for you. If you tracked every hour of your day for the next week, what would you discover? How much time would you find that you're trading for nothing? And more importantly, what would you do if you invested that time into becoming the person your future self needs you to be? That might be the most valuable question you ask yourself all year.